All right, so in this one, we are going to make it so when we add a new cart item, it's automatically adding another line item to the cart. It's no longer going to change or update that cart item that's in there. It's actually just going to add it to the cart. So we would have multiple carts depending on where we're at. So what we're going to do then is we're going to come in here and we're going to look at our get or create object here. And instead of doing that, we are going to actually create a new object every time. So we might even want to call this add to cart instead of update cart, because we will need to make a brand new function for updating the cart, because it's going to be a little bit different than what we're doing here, or at least it's going to be a lot different, I should say. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to change this to add to cart, because our function, it's getting a little bit smarter, so we have to, or it's getting a little bit heavier, a little bit denser, so we'll have to actually make some changes to our function and also how our URLs and our views and all that stuff works. So let's go ahead and do that. And update cart is now add to cart, and then in our single.html, it's also going to be add to cart. Okay, so now in our add to cart, well, we also need to change our home or our view. This will also be add to cart. Or actually, for now, I'm going to leave this as nothing, so just a hash. Okay, so now in our add to cart function, we want to change a few things. This, I actually don't have to do that. You don't have to write a whole list out and iterate through everything. You can actually just add items directly to it from a list by adding a star at the beginning of it. It would be nice to just add the list, but if you add that star, then it's recognized and it'll add each item in that list of items. So in this case, the list has to have the instances that it's related to, otherwise there'll be errors, definitely. So now that we have this, we can even just, we don't even have to have this necessarily, but I'll leave it just in case, just extra checking. All right, so now we're not going to do a get or create. We are just going to do a create. It's going to create products or cart and the product, and then we can get rid of created. And if created, we can get rid of all that. Okay, so now if cart item is 0, delete it. We don't really need to do that, right? Because, well, actually, it's not even going to create it, or shouldn't even create it if the cart item is 0. So if the cart item 0, we'll have to do something else with it. So let's just leave that up here instead, and I'll delete these, because updating cart is going to be somewhere different, right? So this is now, it's creating the cart, and then it's updating, adding any variations. If it needs to add variations, it adds them on there. We don't really need to clear them out anymore because we're not really updating it, right? So like we can get rid of that too. We're really just adding the variations, but I'm just going to leave it if the list is greater than that, because we still want to make sure that we are getting variations going through. And also, if the quantity is greater than 0, that's when we'll actually run through everything, because if the quantity is not, there's no real reason for us to do anything. So if it's less than 0, then we will just return the going back to the cart. So, and I'm going to leave this outside of the if clause. So if it's not post or it's returning 0, it's just going to go directly to the cart and not do anything. All right, so now that we have this, let's go through here just real quick and check things out. So cart item total, this is going to be the same. Like a lot of this stuff is still the same, but we just cleaned it up to where our cart items are now added each time, right? So we'll have multiple cart items. So let's actually try this out and go into our product 1. Looks like we're having some issues with that, so let's see why. Single add to cart should work. I'm thinking it might have to do with our add to cart, since we just changed a bunch of views up. No, that should work. Okay, I'm gonna just restart the server. I just made a bunch of code changes, so it sometimes will happen this way where it's not going to work perfectly. So in our products, what I'm going to do is, instead of raising the HTTP 404, I'm going to see what's going on. So basically what it's doing here is it's trying to get that item and if it's not working, it's not going to show up. All right, so we refresh, and it says no reverse for update cart. So I shouldn't have update cart anywhere in my single.html, but let's go ahead and look for it. Update cart. Oh, it's a commented out part. All right. So back in our view, I'm just going to put everything back to how it was. All right, now it's showing up. All right, so in our single, we had to get rid of all of the URLs for update cart. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add a new variance. So we have product 1, we're going to do 4 medium green, add it. And if I refresh in here, I don't actually see all of my products. So let's go ahead and look at our cart and see why. So in view cart, we have our carts here. It's getting the cart. It is the right cart object, or at least it should be, but it's not getting all the items. So let's go ahead and look at our view. And we see that it should be going through all the cart items, but for some reason it's not. So let's go ahead and check out what's in the cart item set. And it's still saying those same cart items. So let's try that one more time. Add a new product to cart. Yeah, it's not doing it, so let's go ahead and go admin. I'm gonna log out. Let's try it from scratch. Yeah, so it's not actually adding it to the cart. So our add to cart is not actually working. So let's go back into add to cart and let's see why. All right, so it's creating the cart item right here, at least it should be. And it should be post data, so let's make sure in our single that we're sending post, and we are. And we have the product slug coming through. Okay, so let's actually see what's going on here. Create print cart item. Okay, add the cart item. It's not creating the cart item. And cart items, yeah, it's still not. It's not actually even creating the cart item, so it doesn't even get there. So for that reason, let's actually just get rid of this quantity. That might be part of the problem. So I got rid of that quantity, unindented everything. Go into product, add to cart. There we go. So now it's actually adding to cart and product, add to cart. There we go. Product, and let's change it to medium green, add to cart. And there we go. So now it's actually doing it where it's adding each cart item, right, as we see. So for some reason that if quantity is not pulling correctly, so we'll have to come back to change that. So if the quantity is 0, we definitely want to make sure that that's actually coming through correctly. So let's see on my view, I'm going to get rid of that top part. All right, so now we can actually see the amount of cart items that we have in our cart, and it's actually adding. It'll keep adding them. Like, we can't actually remove them, right? It's just going to keep adding them. It does calculate everything for us. Unfortunately, it's not grouping the products together, like, so the name of the product, it's not actually grouping those together, which is maybe something we can work on at some point. But at this phase, we can now see that, okay, well, I can actually add multiple products with the different attributes or variations that we want. I can have the quantities, and we would have to set up something that would actually change these things, which we still will do. And also remove it, but basically that is how we would add products to the cart with using these multiple different quantities and variations. So if you wanted to keep it where it's just one product and multiple quantities, then the other way we did it works out really well. But when we want to have multiple products with multiple variations of that product, we have to add them individually. There's really no other way to do it. So then what we would do here is then we would probably want to track the cart item ID or the set of the cart item IDs into a list that we could use in our session. So then we can remove those from our session at any time that we want. So let's go ahead and do that actually in the next one.